Welcome back to Mcoc Albundyrules. I got the Shang Chi tutorial. Before the tutorial starts, and I show you everything about this amazing champ. Let's look at some highlights. We're seeing some nice damage there. Hitting some of the 50k maximums in that particular content. Seeing some more massive damage. Keep in mind this damage you're seeing, this is with only an R4 5-star. So a 5-star and only R4, not even maxed out 5-star, doing this kind of damage like nothing. So let's start now. Wushu strikes. They start ready and can be performed by landing hits or striking at a block in a specific order. So I'm going to show you the order. Start with the medium disarming strike. So you do a medium, and you see that gives you slow, and that's the disarming strike. So that's the first one. So now the medium is the cleansing strike. That purifies 3 debuffs. Next one, we're going to see the medium, light, medium. This is the breaking strike. The last hit grants unblockable. The longer, if you do this earlier while the other ones are still ready, it's going to be longer. Then there's the pinpoint strike. Medium, light. Medium inflicts a stun for a 0.65 seconds. Again, the more orange ones, the longer they last. So if it's the first one you do, it's going to last longest, and you can reset them with the heavy. I'm going to get more into that, but we see how they went from gray, means that they've been spent, they're no longer ready until you reactivate them, turn them orange by doing a heavy. So let's watch this again. So I'm going to show you some more again. So doing in the same order, we saw the breaking strike, now we see the pinpoint strike, now we see right there, get the precision over there with the heavy. We saw how it reset them from gray to orange, meaning I can redo the strikes again now. And we see the Wushu strikes back on ready after heavy, so we're looking at the next rotation, meaning I could do them again. Keep in mind, if you just keep trying to do medium, you have to do heavy in between them, otherwise it's not going to keep going. You gotta, when they're gray, you can't get another charge for them. You change that with the heavy. The ability, so we're going to look at Dex, perfect time blocks, some heavies. So perfectly timed blocks and dodges, you can get another way to get those charges, those chi charges. So I showed you how to get charges by cycling through those chi strikes. So here's another way. You're looking up top, you look at those chi charges. When you get the exact perfect timing with that perfect time Dex or block, you will see that come about. Heavy attacks, like I mentioned a moment ago. You get the increased critical rating and precision buff. I'm going to talk more about that later in the tips. And also, the big part is that's how you get them back onto ready, those chi strikes. So after you spend them and turn them unready, you get them back ready by doing a heavy. So mainly do one of each of the strikes. Do a heavy, then keep going through them. And I'll talk more about that in tips. You see on that heavy right there, it does get those crit up there as well. And then we have the always active. Critical hits grant that critical damage for the rest of the max up to 300 hits. So between building up his chi charges and between the critical hits and the max up to 300 hits, he clearly shines on longer fights. He can, the more you kind of build him up, the more he's going to do some ridiculous, insane damage, and he still has some very good utility along the way too. Is a great counter for a lot of items. You saw that disarming strike right there, to where it can become the unblockable for a certain amount of time. And again, when they're orange, the first strike you do, the first chi strike you do when they're orange lasts the longest, and then each one's a little bit less until you reset them. So let's look at special attacks. Landing this attack, striking to the block or striking orange to the block will perform the last Wushu strike. So in this case, if I was doing the cleansing strike and if I did the S1, it would go back into there. This does not work with the stun one. Otherwise, that kind of got changed a while back. Otherwise, it can kind of permanent stun lock. But the other ones, it will activate the last strike. Here's the special too. This is where you get the massive damage. Each hit is guaranteed crit hit. Consume all chi charges. Increase the attack rating by each hit for each chi charge. And all unready Wushu strikes are readied. So they're going to become ready back again, meaning you won't have to do the heavy again after S2. We'll kind of do that for you to re-ready them. But so it spends all of your charges. So when you're ready to end the fight, depending on how much health pull they got, depending on how many strikes you got, we'll see I have a lot of chi charges up there. Did that S2 and saw some massive damage. Could have been more also, but then again, this was a that was an LOL fight with a 50k damage cap. And then we see the special 3. We see the critical damage rating for the rest of the fight. So doing an S3 some part in the fight, and then going through your rotation rotations between the 4 strikes with the heavies could be good. This is also a good way to build up chi charges even quicker. You get 4 with that S3. So you could do the S3s, you could do the perfectly timed decks and dodges and blocks, along with rotating for the strikes is also ways to get those chi charges up. So you can get the chi charges up pretty quick. Again, the higher those are, the more damage you're going to do on a pretty whomping pow 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 S2. And then we look at the signature ability now. Critical hits deal a percentage of the hit damage as bursts of physical damage. Ability is based on hit before block proficiency, armor resistances before that. And Shang Chi can perform critical hits throughout the opponent's block. So here we're seeing critical hits. So it's kind of like maybe like a Corvus who can crit through the block. This is something we will see here too with Shang Chi. We will see some of those crits going through. So you see some crits going on with the signature ability, and again through the block. Now let's look at some of his synergies. We see here dodging. This one is with Mr. Negative, dodging an attack with perfectly timed inflicts falter. And then so the falter will come with that one. Here with the Immortal Fist and Iron Fist start with 4 chi charges with Spider-Man. Critical hits bypass 20% of armor and resistances. Eyes of the Dragon. Landing critical hit grants additional 2% critical damage rating. Max 100 hits. So another way can get his damage up even higher on those crits. Heroes for Hire. So 85 block proficiency and physical resistance. And plus 155 critical rating on the Electro. Now let's look at tips for use. Tip 1. Use disarming the medium against unstoppable or evaders. Again, do it while they're all orange, because that's going to make it last the longest. If you spend the other chi strikes first, it's going to be short. It won't be long enough for you to be very useful. So again, do it at the start of the fight, or do that as your first chi strike after a heavy. That's going to make slow the longest. You can also, if you need to, when the medium is your last strike, you can chain an S1 to it as well, and that will reactivate and get you a second one as well, especially for trickier evaders. Tip 2 is Cleansing Strike makes them very Suicide Mastery friendly. I love the Cleansing. That's the medium, light, medium. You can do that right at the beginning of the fight or sometime early, depending on, you can kind of adjust how you do the fight and which order you do the strikes based on the fight, but it makes them super suicide friendly. And also those debuff heavy champs, you can just you can keep changing, just do the heavy to remake it ready again, do the medium, light, medium, and take away those debuffs. Tip 3 is use pinpoint. And using that pinpoint after a heavy at the beginning of the fight, it gives the longer stun. So when they're stunned longer, again, the first one while the other ones are all still orange, the first one you activate is going to be the longest. Therefore, you see how much longer the stun is. I can get a few other of those chi strikes in, getting up some of that utility and building up more of those charges. Makes it easier like that. T4, keep cycling through all 4 chi strikes, followed by heavy in each cycle. Of course, remember, you can also perfectly time decks and block to build those up to S3s. You can build up the strikes too. But just by rotating through this, you're going to keep them all active. You're going to keep all the utility active, and you're going to keep building charges. It makes it easy to build up Shang Chi by doing this. Again, after you do your 4, do whatever order you prefer based on the attack, based on the fight, and then do the heavy so you can redo them again. You see that S2 and that massive damage right there. Also like to do a heavy usually too to activate the precision. Again, so we're going to cycle through the chi strikes to build up charges to get the ready with heavy each time. So do the 4, so make sure they're all 4 showing gray. Do the heavy so they're all 4 showing orange. Again, do them all again, and just keep rinse and repeat. After all 4 charges, do the heavy and do it again. It depends how many charges you need. Depends on how many health pool to fight. If you're just doing 100, 200,000 health pool fight, like 2 cycles or 3 cycles at most will probably be enough. You're doing these 500,000, 1 million, 2 million health pools, you're going to need several cycles, but it's really quick. It only takes, like, if you do it nice and fast, we'll see how it does. You can get him fully charged up. I mean, way charged up to 40, 50, 60 of those chi charges within like a minute or 2 if you're dexting, using S3s, really rotating through them fast. It's pretty easy to build them up. Do keep in mind, though, that S2 will take them all away. So if the S2 doesn't do the job, you're going to have to rebuild them up again. Do a heavy attack for critical increase before launching the S2 as well. And then, so we'll see here, getting him ready. We see we're at those charges right there. We're at 39 right now. We'll see that we got the precision going on, and we do this S2, and look at all that damage just smoking on through. Isn't that a thing of beauty? Remember again, that's only an R4 doing that damage 5-star. Hope you like this video. Don't forget to click that top left icon, subscribe to Mcoc Albundyrules. Don't forget to turn those notifications on. Check out my champion tutorial playlist if you like. They got over 50 tutorials, many champs. They got lots of walkthroughs. They got all kinds of great stuff on here. Don't forget to subscribe.